IT leaders must embrace environmental sustainability, both for its business benefits and because of increasing compliance requirements. But how do they develop a holistic sustainability strategy? Santosh Jayaram, Senior Vice President, Corporate Sustainability of HCL Tech, and Gokul V. Subramaniam, Vice President, Client Computing Group, Intel, are going to help us explore this key question. Welcome. And I'd like to start by perhaps looking at the big picture. We know that a more sustainable approach to our interactions with the planet is vital because of the threat to humankind. What is the big role IT industries can play to help us be more efficient and sustainable? And Santosh, perhaps I could start with you.
Sure, Vic. Thanks for having me here. In terms of the role the IT sector can play, there are distinctly two roles. One is what I call is the sustainable IT, but the second is also what is IT for sustainability. The rise of data, digitalization, computation, AI, ML, all those what you hear is going to significantly increase the energy and material consumption, um, both in the manufacturing side as well as in the operation side. So it's not just the hardware part of it, but we also need to look into sustainable coding practices in developing applications. The device manufacturers are working continuously to reduce the emissions by optimized designs. Um, During operation stage, the IT companies are looking at optimized operation and also usage of renewable energy. The circularity concepts adopted by the OEMs are helping to reduce the environmental impact at the disposal as well. HCL Tech, being an IT service provider, our focus is on efficient operation and services. So we have a clear roadmap to reduce our emissions and achieve net zero by 2040. While we are reducing our scope 1 and 2 emissions, we have a focus on reducing the scope 3 emissions as well. But while we are doing it, we are trying to help reduce the scope 3 emissions of our clients. So we have clear sustainability norms for sourcing the devices as well, so that we are controlling the scope 3 emissions coming out of the procured goods and services as well. So overall, what I would say is that that's the part of HCL Tech where we really look into the sustainable IT side. But if you really look at the service side, um, the IT for sustainability, we also focus on delivering the right solutions to client to reduce their environmental footprint. Most of the work we do have embedded sustainability impact. So whether it is a cloud transformation or whether it is optimization of operations using IT. But we have also developed specific solutions around sustainability. For example, we have something called as a net zero intelligent operation, NEO, as we call it. And NEO aids in monitoring, normalizing, comparing, and reduction of energy consumptions. Powered by digital twin, IoT, and AI, it can connect with OT and IT systems across the enterprises, literally helping the enterprise to reduce their emissions. So, and we also have solutions to help design better sustainable products. It is said that 80% of the impact of a product is decided at the design stage, and hence it is a significant stage to create a sustainable product. So, the right kind of life cycle assessment studies of products today, you have digital technologies to do that, and we can look at sustainable substitutes, test them in the digital twin environment, and create sustainable products. So we have been helping companies to evolve better design for their products as well. So I'll conclude by saying that the convergence of digitalization and sustainability will be a major force in the sustainability journey for any company.
Thank you, Santosh. I completely agree. And Gokul, would you add anything to this particular one?
It's tough to add anything more. Santosh covered really well. I think one thing that I'd like to say is sustainability is becoming a critical part for every user, consumer buying decision, but even more for corporations, given the number of systems that get deployed that people are using in the workforce. And what that means is the average awareness and the desirability for individuals to use, procure, and carry a sustainable electronic device is becoming a primary factor in what they want to buy and how they want to use it. So, given that, I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity for IT industry, not just from a compliance and checkbox standpoint in terms of what they can do to, help the threat to our ecosystem, but also really appeal to the user, to their mind as they work every day to see how, in an indirect way, they're helping the planet while they're consuming energy personally and with the device they use to produce wonderful products. They also have this back of the mind thought process that it is helping the planet. And so, from a branding and marketing standpoint, it's an important aspect. And last but not the least, like I said, the user awareness has grown. Gen Z want more products that are sustainable. So, if you really want to even look at it from a business standpoint, sustainability is becoming a user experience that people want and will soon demand. And that's what I would like to start off with. And of course, there's more layers to this, and we can talk about it further in this conversation.
Yeah, no, no, you're absolutely right. There's a real business value to sustainability, and I think we can tease that out. At a high level, what do you think the key elements that IT leaders need to think about when developing a sustainability strategy? And perhaps Gokul, you could start on this one.
IT plays a very vital role in helping companies reach their sustainability goals. A lot of times they're working with companies that may or may not be technology driven. So they become kind of the conduit to help the companies that they serve achieve the sustainability goal, and in many ways become the catalyst for having a lower carbon footprint world, right? So there's a big responsibility. And, almost 60 to 65% of the IT decision makers are actually, from one of the studies that was done recently, are demanding and requesting for sustainability initiatives as a high priority when they start to make their decisions on what kind of systems to deploy. And so, in that sense, it's important for the IT leaders to kind of think how they can incorporate sustainability practices and, like Santosh mentioned, across the life cycle, starting from the design. And so, if you take from just the PC, the one that we're using right now for this conversation, the end-to-end life cycle of a personal computing device, which almost every IT engineer uses or IT system when it gets deployed to any company of sorts. The end-to-end life cycle starts with manufacturing of the device, then the operational phase, and then what we call the retire or end of first life. And I say end of first life because that's an important aspect of sustainability. So in manufacturing, it starts from all the components, and Intel being one of the key silicon semiconductor providers, the amount of energy expended to make that silicon, it starts there, but it doesn't end there. In the life cycle, the silicon goes into a motherboard and the full product gets built like a laptop or a desktop or a personal computing device. What are the aspects of carbon footprint that you can reduce in the actual manufacturing of a PC? So it's got the motherboard, it's got the chassis, the display, the battery, all of them contribute to lowering the carbon footprint, as well as the kind of minerals that you use to build it. And once that is done, you have the operational phase when the user is actually using the system. And that's where you want to have lower power, energy efficiency for use cases like this video recording or the video conferencing, how much power you're really using. Now, that's a big part because that's during the phase when the actual system is being deployed and used. And last but not the least, you should also look at how a system gets into the retirement or end of first life. And the reason why that's important is because a lot of times systems do get into the recycle dump yard, and because they want it not to be sabotaged or abused, they destroy every element of it. And we have technologies that we are offering through vPro and Intel where you can securely wipe out the content and the storage. Not just the user storage, but also critical IT settings and configuration that you may have so that the corporate information is secure. And with that, you also have the ability, while it's operational, to manage the device remotely. So if you expect an IT technician to actually drive down to different facilities and building to fix the laptop, while you may save on the carbon footprint and making it, but then you're releasing more carbon emission with a truck driving or a car driving in to do it. So the holistic view of it, end to end, manufacturing, operational, and end of life, is critical. And this is where during the life cycle of 3 to 4 years or 5 years, when IT deploys the system, the manageability is a key part. How the system is tracked, how it can be remotely serviced, how it can also involve certain technologies to know the wear and tear of the device so that you can create some kind of a residual value for it in order to give a second life. So I think this is a great opportunity here for us to actually look at it end to end, and Intel provides some excellent technologies and capabilities that the IT industry can use to go leverage all of them to bring a very powerful sustainability aspect to any PC lifecycle.
Thank you, Gogo. Some really interesting insights there. Santosh, anything you'd like to add to this?
I think Google covered mostly on the IT side of things. Maybe I might take it a little higher level to say that what are the three key principles any leader, I wouldn't even say IT leader, but any leader has to keep in place, which includes IT leaders. One is that I say, stakeholders are very critical when you devise a sustainability strategy. And so the inclusion of the stakeholders is one of the critical aspects which you will have to kind of consider while devising a strategy. A sustainability strategy is not just attending to the risk of a company, which comes out of environmental or social changes which happen around you, but also covers the responsibility to create that positive impact, many of which Google mentioned as well. We at HCL, we say that we devised our strategy through a bifocal lens. When I say bifocal lens, it is through the lens of risk as well as the lens of responsibility. So that's how a strategy need to be devised. The second one, I would say, the second key element is collaboration. There is a limited impact any organization can create alone, and I think the organizations need to come into an ecosystem to create or scale that impact, and I think that's the second key element to the strategy. The third element I would say is that there is no sustainability strategy on the long run, because I always compare sustainability with quality. Like the quality revolution in the early 90s, you had at that time quality assurance, quality control, multiple quality things. And I think if you really look at it right now, you would find that many of them are non-existent because quality got integrated into everything what we do, whether it is a HR function, whether it is a finance function, whether it is a procurement function. Quality got integrated. You don't call it out. So I would say that is the same way sustainability also, in the sense that there is no separate strategy, but yes, to start with you might call it out, but I think the key of the strategy, or a key component of the strategy, need to be how do you integrate this into everything an organization does.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really good point, Santosh. Kind of making it part of the DNA almost of the business in a way, and we are witnessing a lot of focus on sustainable IT with emerging regulatory and compliance requirements. So, in your opinion, are there specific actions and approaches which IT leaders could implement relatively quickly? And Santosh, could I come to you first?
Yeah, so if you really look at the regulatory change currently happening, most of the regulatory changes are happening around disclosures. And so there is a higher demand of disclosures when it comes to sustainability. And from that aspect, what has changed? Even earlier, most of the companies would have been kind of disclosing But what has changed is once it moves from a voluntary reporting to a regulatory reporting, the responsibility over the accuracy and reliability, it changes multiple folds. Now there is a high level of scrutiny which all the data around sustainability what you put out there, so data becomes very critical. And I think the key part about the whole of the IT structure what we evolve, or if you look at the evolution of the IT structure, has been that how do you bring in more trust to the data, right? And so I think that would be the lowest hanging fruit for many of the IT leaders to move into a regulatory regime, as to use your IT systems to kind of improve the accuracy and reliability of the disclosures which you put out there, because there is a high level of liability coming up along with these regulations.
Thank you, Santosh. And Gokul, your thoughts on this critical area?
It's a great point, Santosh, man. I just want to compliment on that. Sustainability is still an emerging area in a lot of sense, and the kind of sustainability ID requirements also tend to vary a little bit across verticals and segments. But having said that, I will kind of lead in with Santosh's pointer around data. Collecting data is going to be so critical, and things like how a system gets used during the life cycle, what's the wear and tear, how many times it got dropped on the floor, and what kind of usage model was there is a great way to assess the remaining life or the residual life of a potential personal computing device, for example. And so we have some ways we can do it through Intel's platform service record. Why that's important? Because you certainly want to give that equipment another lease of life in a circular economy, and that could be end of first life and the beginning of a second life. And as you talk about data again, everybody's concern is how can I make sure that it gets refurbished or redeployed without any breach of data that was pre-existing. And so having mechanisms to really securely remove personal and IT data becomes so important. So the thing that I would kind of call as a low-hanging fruit for IT managers is put the lens on operational and data collection and see how that can help further enhance the sustainability attributes and opportunities for making the products more sustainable, and lean in on your partners and ecosystem to kind of bring that technology there for further improving it.
Thank you, Gokul. Great discussion there on how IT leaders really must embrace environmental sustainability. Thank you, Santosh Jairam, and thank you, Gokul Subramaniam, for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.